and things like that. But then what I felt was, it will be good when we, turn on the video and interact. But however, never mind. It's a great start because you have come with a book review. I think we can. That's a great starting point based on what Jeffrey uh, says about her favorite book. I think that will give us a great preamble and the build up to actually do the book review. So I should really thank you, Jeffrey. Please start, Jeffrey. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So I wanted to talk about my all-time favorite book, sir. It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So the book, why it's very intriguing, because every time I read the book, I get a different perspective about the book. The thing is, I first read the book when I was in my 10th grade, and when I read back in 10th grade, I was very naive about what it was trying to say. It just felt like a normal story and an adventure of a shepherd and nothing else. But now as I grew up, I feel like when I look back at my own life, I feel like I can relate to the book, and I believe the book completely, like from the core of it. I actually believe everything. So the book, it taught me a lot, especially now as an adult. I can appreciate the book even more because it has all these lessons. It's more, it doesn't feel like literature, but rather a self-help book. I feel like every time we read the books, there's something new that we. So in that book, what Paulo Coelho tries to convey through Santiago's journey is his ability to believe in his destiny, of how whatever that has happened in his life is actually giving him signs. So it is very relatable. I feel like the reason why the book has sold over 50 million copies is because of its relatability. Because every time a person reads, I feel like every person can relate to the story if they can really observe the signs that they have received in their life. So it kind of gives hope that when you really want something, the entire universe conspires in achieving it for you. So it gives you, it teaches you so many lessons about how courage and will to attain your destiny will ultimately help you reach it. So that's it, sir.
Yes, that was really a very, very professional and a lovely analysis. I should definitely appreciate that. It was because so it was so deep and trenchant. And as a matter of fact, I too find the book so intriguing. It's because I didn't read it too early, just like you, but I read it, a few years back. Actually, I should frankly admit that it turned me inside out because, you rightly said that how you relate yourself to those experiences. It's one of the all-time favorites for most of. That's why it is in one of the bestsellers even today.
Yes, sir.
So
So do you
yeah,
believe in whatever said in the Alchemist, sir? Like I'm just
yeah,
curious.
yeah. To a great extent, I feel the central message is we all keep hunting for so many things, keep exploring and running towards so many worldly pursuits, not realizing that what we want is with us and very close to us. Because no matter how far you go, whatever you want in life are very close to you. I think that is one of the profound realizations I had about the book. And that power of narration was so intriguing, and that most of the experience I could relate as you could. So yeah, it had a close affinity to my life and to my perceptions and to my ideologies.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Jeffrey. Yes, Yashmita asking, what is your favorite book? My favorite book, actually, my favorite genre is I like to read a lot of thrillers and science fiction. But if you look at uh, my literary pursuits, my all time favorite was Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd. Probably, if you pursue literature, you will happen to read that book. That's one of my all time favorites. All right, so thank you for asking. I don't know if others are in a position to so let us take off from here and how to do a book review. And in course of time, I'll just catch up with a lot of interactions and kind of very deeply dwell into how to do a review. Okay. And by the end, although it was a professional review that Jeffrey did, there are many aspects of the review that we will kind of dive into, and then let us revisit our book and read it from that perspective. So yeah, let me actually share my slide with you and start off with how to do a book review. I'll just present my screen, and in between I'll have some interactions with you if possible. So I think if I, yeah, I'll share my screen with you. Okay. Am I sharing the screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, yeah, what we are going to do in the remaining two classes is we are just going to do a book review. Okay. We call this as a kind of a reaction paper. Sometimes how you react to situations, any kind of emotions you come across, any kind of text you see, any kind of visual that you watch, everything leaves a kind of an impact on us. So we are quite reactive by nature. So, what is your initial reaction when you read your favorite book? Let's start off with the question. I think it's quite a pertinent question to start with. When I read Far from the Madding Crowd, I could really relate it to my personal life because I was really born and brought up in a village where I had visited green fields, where I was so allured by the beautiful pastoral narration of Thomas Hardy, the village life and the rustic life, so much appealed to me. And especially it will appeal for people who are caught in the vortex of frenzied life, who are caught up in the humdrum of cacophony. But I truly enjoyed because I could, Thomas Hardy takes me to those green grass fields. It takes me to those meadows. It takes me to the hills. It takes me to those beautiful brimming lakes, and it takes me, just like shepherd to the flock of sheeps. So it's something that I closely related. That was my first reaction when I look at the title and the cover page. So now let me ask you a question. Think about your favorite book. When you looked at the cover page, when you started reading the book, what was your first reaction? Because Jaffrine made a beautiful point, because the way she read the book sometime back was far different from the way she read it now. But if you take that particular book, what is your initial reaction? Then we have some deep reactions. When you looked at the cover, what was your reaction, Jeffrey?
Yes, sir. Can you repeat the question, sir? I didn't get you.
Yeah, when you took the book, the title of the book and the cover of the book, what was your first reaction to the book?
So
Maybe when you
when
started reading a few pages.
I
Yeah.
thought it was an adventure books. Actually, that was the first book I read of Paulo Coelho.
Okay.
So when he introduced the character Santiago loving adventures in books, so I thought it was some kind of an adventure book. So nothing.
Fine, fine, fine. Right, right. So we all have initial reactions. The reason why I am asking is, what was your initial reaction and how that reaction will change in course of time as you read the book. I would like to make a very pertinent point here. Some people actually jump to conclusions just by reading the preface of the book. Some people judge a book by its cover. Some people choose a book to read based on the cover and based on the title. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
And yeah, and these kind of reactions do change as we keep reading the book. So let's start off with your initial reaction whenever you make a book review, and you focus on what was the purpose of the author, which means what was the genre. It could be, as I said, a science fiction, a thriller. As Jeffrey said, it could be a narration. So what was actual the primary purpose of that particular book? Was it intended to appeal to people's emotions, or is it a science fiction? So what was the author's purpose in writing the book? So talk a little bit about the genre of the book, because genre is something that you should start with, and then you will kind of give an outline of the content, just like the teaser of the movie or the blurb of the book. Have you heard about the blurb of the book? You take any particular book, the back cover. I don't know how many of you have seen a book so closely. If you take any particular book that you would like to read, go to the bookshelves. But again, I don't know how many of you visit bookshelves these days, but I'm sure that most of you would have been to a library. You pick any book. If you look at the book cover and the back cover, there will be a small information about the book, and that is called the book blurb. The essence of that particular book will be beautifully encapsulated in a few verses. That is called the blurb. So it's like a teaser of a movie, something, the highlights of that particular book. So you give a short blurb of the book. So I'll give you a small assignment. Go home today, pick any of your novels that is in your bookshelf, or you can even pick your favorite book which you have read, and go and look at the blurb of the book, at the back cover, description about the book. And tomorrow, when you come to the class, you will express the blurb of your book. This is the first assignment that we are going to start off with tomorrow. So tomorrow when you come, you will all express not your favorite book, or it need not be your favorite book, something that you like, and you will also read the blurb. You will read the blurb for me. So that is how you should start with. You start with the genre, the purpose, and the content. Very few lines of what the book is about, the essence of it. So if you want to know what the content or the essence of it, you should do two things. A, you should look at the blurb, and B, you should look at the contents page. The contents page of the book, the first wrapper page. The inside wrapper. What are the contents? You should look at it. And then you will go on to assess what are the strengths of the book and what are the weakness of the book. Just like, a movie, you go to a movie, there are certain things that you find truly appealing. But when the movie is over, and if you really analyze that particular, the whole movie, you may find that there are certain areas where it could have been better. There are certain areas where you feel that the director had made a mess. There are certain areas where you feel it would have been better it was like that. Suppose you read a particular novel, sometimes you may be unhappy with the ending. You would feel it would be better if it is like this. You would be sometimes quite unhappy with the way a character is being depicted. So that is the purpose of a book review. A book review's true purpose is actually to play a role of a critic as well. Now, I have just given you a visual here. A one size doesn't fit all. There is no one particular approach to write a book review. Book review depends on a person's inclination, depends on a person's pursuit, and there is no fixed framework per se. And this is a point I am trying to drive home today. So there is no one size fits all. I will not say this is a template for writing a book review. You can write in any order that you like, but it is always good to start with the genre, what was the purpose of the author, and what was the strength, and what were some of the flaws, the weakness. So these are some of the things you have to actually mull over, ponder over, reflect on as you read the book. And you will also turn out to be a critic. Okay, am I making my point clear to all of you? Am I making myself clear to you, Ma?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There was a long pause, so I was a little taken aback with if I am online or if I had, had some network issues. All right. What about, Balachandar? Are you following me, Balachandar? Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. So this is one thing you need to remember about, a book review, that there is no one size fits all approach, and you can write in your own style. So, all right. So you should examine what the author tried to do and evaluate how well the author has succeeded. For example, now Jeffrey said, about that Alchemist, where the author's pursuit was to, write a book of adventure. But was it truly adventurous? Was his effort true appealing to call it that particular genre? Or you feel that there are certain places where it lacked that luster? So you'll be talking about all those things. But one important point I would try to make is, whenever you evaluate how the author has succeeded, wherever the author has failed, it can be the author, the director of a movie, When you say that he has succeeded at certain places, and when you say the person has failed at certain places, you should provide some details of some scenes, some passages to show how he has succeeded, and some evidence that this particular verses could have been better, this particular characterization could have been better. So, this is how you initially kind of go and dwell into a paper. And there are two kinds of reading. As a discerning reader, there are different kinds of readers. Some people read for memory, some people read for joy, but as you kind of climb the reader's ladder, at the advanced reader's ladder, you kind of read like a critic also. Sometimes this is what you call as active reading. You kind of travel with the authors. That is what you need to do. Sometimes you need to travel with the authors. If it is an adventure, you should be a part of that adventure. If it is emotive, you should be a part of that particular character. So such things happen to me when I read literature. For example, the character of Tess in Thomas Hardy so much touched me. I traveled along with that particular character. Although I was a male, I could be a female and think in that particular person's shoes, understand the emotions of that particular girl in that novel, the trauma that she undergoes. In fact, I went through an entire kind of a metamorphosis from a male to a female to understand that particular character from the perspective of Tess. What I say might sound ridiculous, but sometimes when you kind of deeply engage with the text, that is what happens. That is what actively reading. It's not reading, but engaging with the text. This is called engaging, deep engagement. Be one among the characters. This is what professional characters do. Professional actors do. When they are given a particular role, sometimes some people professionally pull off a role. And what is the reason for that? Because they engage with that character, they live with that character. So that is called as active reading. So whenever you read any particular genre, just put yourself in that person's shoes, travel with those persons, then you will be able to play the role of a critic very effectively. And this is what I do. I don't know if you do that. There are some passages that will so much intrigue me. There are some passages that will truly fascinate me, some lines that I would like to read again and again. So what do I do with those lines is I kind of highlight those passages. I read it multiple times, I revisit it. So whenever you read a book, whatever you find truly appealing, something may be a quote, something may have profound logic, so underline that and highlight that. So assignment 2, tomorrow when you come tomorrow when you come, the second assignment for you is you will go back to the book that you thought about. And not only Jeffrey, for all of you, this is a prerequisite for the class. You need to have your favorite book. So what you will do is you will underline a few passages from that book, and tomorrow you will do some reading, a classroom reading. So that is how we are going to start our tomorrow's class. We will do some kind of reading about your favorite passages that truly appeal to you. You need not read many, you can read a few lines, one or two. So you will have notes. Okay. And then sometimes what we do is whenever we read a particular text, as soon as the second chapter is over, we kind of make predictions about the text. Right? Do you make that? Suppose, let's say that you read 2 chapters, close the book aside, and reflect upon it. Don't you make predictions on where the story is heading? Don't you make predictions on how the characters will face their, what kind of ending it will be? So you have to ask yourself those kind of questions and see if your predictions come true. So it's always not, but in one way it is better to approach a text from a fresh mind, not to have any kind of prejudgments about it, but as readers we bring our experience, our emotions into the text. So this is how you actually read a book. Now I'm going to give you a sample outline. Now tomorrow, this is assignment 3, your task 3. So before we move on to task 1, to task 3, I just request one of you to please tell me what are the two things that you will do tomorrow. Jeffrey, can you mind? It's not to just test your memory, but to reinforce what I said. Yeah, you will start off with your book blurb tomorrow, as Yashmita has texted. Thank you, Yashmita. What is the second thing you will do tomorrow? Your second assignment for tomorrow?
And then read a passage from the book.
Yeah, some passages, some extracts that actually truly appeal to you. And it's like that, right? There are certain passages in the book which you will find more appealing, which you would want to revisit time and time again. So come out with some extracts. Shall I keep proceeding with the remaining part of my presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right, yes. So third task. Now write a sample outline about your. You need not do that, but reflect on it. A sample outline, a short introduction of what your you know stories your book is about. An introduction. What is it about? It's actually I'm only trying to restate what I stated earlier. Introduction refers to what is your genre, what are some of the who characters, the characters that are truly appealing. Summary refers to a short, a few passages, the blurb of it. You know what the story is about, and then you will analyze its strength and weakness, and then the conclusion. This is what I have been telling you so far in the past 15 minutes, and this was the outline of what I was articulating to you in the past 15 minutes. So moving on, I just like to make some pertinent points here. Uh, yeah, so some pertinent points. So whenever you write your summary of the book, which is kind of a blurb, you make it very brief and concise. And what should your summary state? You should state what is the main point the author is trying to make. Now I'm going to ask you another question. Third task for you. Third important task. Tomorrow when you come, when you pick your favorite book, you should tell me what is one central message in that particular book which is running throughout that particular book. And actually, if you look at any story, any novel, any movie, the message, the central theme is only one fine, delicate fabric. But in that fabric, a lot of flamboyant colors and color combinations in terms of characterization are beautifully and dexterously woven by the writer, the author, or the director, or whoever. So what I want you to do tomorrow, your third thing is, what is one central message that is the heart of your book? This is what I want you to reflect on when you come tomorrow. Take your favorite book. What is the central message, the heart of the book? And in that heart, what is the central vein? I mean, what is the central message that you find it appealing? And again, whatever I say later is only a repetition of it. Main point, and then you talk about purpose, intent, supporting details, but it all boils down to only one single idea. And the idea is, what is the author's main point, the central message? This is your task 3. I'm glad that today we had a great beginning. Jeffrey gave a wonderful analysis, a wonderful review, a very professional review. But I would love to have interaction with all these tasks from all of you. I have so far given you 3 tasks. Tomorrow I would like to start with everyone being in the class and to interact with you. I mean, that is when the classes become so effective, or else it becomes so monotonous. So I request you to just join the class, come out with these, think about these conflicts, reflect on these concepts, and make your present your views. Okay, so what you are going to present is a kind of a teaser for your book. Just remember that a 3 hours movie teaser in 5 minutes will decide how appealing it is. So what you are going to actually do is to present a teaser of your your book. and I would decide whether it is appealing or not. I'm sure that it is. It's going to be appealing, but what you found truly appealing? So far, in the past 20 minutes, I have made only 3 points to you, and I have been repeating those 3 points to really dim the message and emphasize my point. So I'll stop with this slide for the class today, just for today's class. Tomorrow we'll catch up with these remaining, discussions. So I just like to give you a few tips. I would like to call this as a take-home points. Now, whenever you make a review, or when you're asked to write a review, anyway, as far as our assignment is concerned, you're not going to write, but you're only going to present. But however, before you present, you need to write it down. Only then you can present it with a lot of clarity, with a lot of conviction, okay, and perhaps a lot of courage as well. So first you need to document it in writing. It happens even today. Whenever I just give some uh, important talks, I to kind of jot down some important points and then build on my talk using those points. So whenever you give a particular talk, it's always better to just craft it down meticulously. So please craft down, because by the end of the class you will be doing a review recording. That will take time. I'll give you the deadline later, but coming back to this point, so what you need to do is make sure that your summary is just one page, 1 or 2 page summary. If I were to ask Jeffrey to write a 2 page summary of Alchemist based on today's discussion, so if you revisit all these points, what is the essence that you will document in those 2 pages? You can do that. And one way of doing that is to provide a brief chapter by chapter summary. And you can very well skip out chapters that you do not find appealing. You can very well skip out chapters that does not intrigue you. You can skip out chapters that do not actually rivet you or enthrall you. You have the liberty to do that. So you can write a small cameo of every chapter, what the chapter is about. Okay. And what you should do is you should use your own language and not necessarily summarize what is given in the book exactly. This is called this particular session. See, one important point that I wish to drive home here, because I use the word critic. Whenever you read a particular text, the important message is it is not what the author says, or it is not that what you find truly appealing, but how you interpret that. What kind of agreements or disagreements you have with the writer. That makes you a professional, that makes you a critic. It's not that you have to actually agree with whatever somebody says, no matter who said that. You will always have your own ideas to refute. You will always find that your ideology may clash with the ideology of writer. You may be very unhappy with how a character is being depicted. You may, so those kind of finer aspects makes a finer review. So one important point is a review is not actually a kind of a summary of a particular novel you read, or a movie you watched, or an article you read. It is not a mere summary, but it is using your discretion, dissecting the text, finding the strengths, also finding the weakness, pointing out the areas which you are unhappy with. And ultimately, there is no such thing as perfection, right? I mean, you write something, I can find fault with you. I write something, if you pay a lot of attention to it, if you reread it multiple times, you can find some loophole. So no matter who wrote something, yes, thank you, Yashmita, no matter Who said something? There is no such thing as perfection. And when you look at things with a microscopic eye, you will understand what I mean. And as a reader, it is always good to watch things or to read from a microscopic eye. But if you want to be really successful in life, if you want to be really happy in life, it is better not to look at people with a microscopic eye. I think with this I'll stop and I will catch up with you tomorrow. I just like to make my sessions in short bursts rather than having long sessions, because I will share the materials with you as I complete the class. Just stay in the class, don't leave. Just stay with me for a minute.